Guys, welcome to this latest masterclass. We're talking about hunger today, and we're talking about how hunger is not an emergency signal for you to eat instantly. Okay, so we generally treat hunger like it's an emergency. When we feel hungry, we got to eat as soon as we possibly can. Now, this masterclass isn't about preaching to you to eat less food. You know you should eat less food than you currently are if you want to lose some weight, right? We need to be in a deficit. We've all done that bit, years and years, different diets, whatever. This is about something completely different. And what we're going to look at here is the 20 minutes in between the feeling and doing something about it. And it's thinking more logically about things, because we tend to think irrationally, emotionally, all this kind of stuff around food. Now, for example here, 4 p.m, you've eaten good all day, you're driving home, your stomach is telling you, oh, I'm hungry. Your stomach's saying I'm hungry, right? By the time your key's in the door, you have convinced yourself you are properly hungry. Biscuits are there, eaten by 8 o'clock, all gone by 9 o'clock, right? This whole thing has happened in that 20-minute gap where you thought you were getting hungry and you convinced yourself you were hungry. And that is the gap that we're going to fix here today, okay? So it's a signal, not an instruction. It's your body giving you a signal. Your body is flagging things all day long, whether you're cold, whether you're tired, whether you need a wee or need the toilet, right? But you don't act on every single one of these as soon as it tells you that, do you? You don't act upon it straight away. Even if you wait 10, 15 minutes, you're not acting upon it straight away. So hunger is exactly the same as that. It's just learned to feel more urgent than it actually is. We convince ourselves to think it's more urgent than it is, okay? And again, that's what we're going to stop here, because let's face it, you've never been in danger from being hungry. There are people in the world who are actually in danger from being hungry. You are not one of them if you're watching this video. Not once in your life. You might have been uncomfortable. Yes, you might have felt uncomfortable when you're hungry and starving hungry. I know we've all been there, but you're not in danger ever, okay? And here's why that matters. Because to lose body fat, you need to be in what's called a calorie deficit. I'm sure by now you're well versed in what a calorie deficit is. Now, a deficit is going to feel something at some point. You're going to feel an element of hunger at some point because you're consuming less food than you normally have. Your body is like, where's that food gone? And it tells you you are hungry to get that food up because the body wants energy. It wants that food. So if your rule is hungry means eat, then you are making it really, really tough to lose body fat. Almost impossible, to be honest, because you need to have that slight element of hunger to do so. Now, I'm not saying you need to be starving hungry. Of course not. We've got to find a happy medium in between, but we have to have an element of hunger, okay? When you do get hungry, please don't panic. So I'm not telling you to go hungry here. We're not chasing loads and loads of hunger. We're just not scared of being hungry anymore, if that makes sense, okay? So there's 4 different types of hunger. We're going to go through them now. They're all completely different. They all need completely different responses. And this is important, okay? So we have real hunger and habit hunger first and foremost. Now, real hunger is real hunger, as it says on the tin. It builds slowly. It isn't picky. Turns up roughly the same time most days. And a good example of this would be if someone offered you a chicken breast in front of you, you would be like, yeah, I'll eat that chicken breast because I'm hungry, okay? That's a good example. If someone offered you an apple, you'd be like, yeah, I'm hungry. I'll eat that apple. So that's real hunger, right? Habit hunger is what turns up pretty much around the clock, not from a feeling. So it could be 9 p.m. on the sofa and you're watching Netflix and you are just, it's routine to go and eat some crisps or some biscuits, That's a good example there. That is the main example we have. It appears just because of a time. You could be in the office, it's 3 p.m. and at 3 p.m. someone brings biscuits around the office or cakes and then you convince yourself you're hungry to have one, okay? The minute that happens, we have to try and realize that it's a habit, not actual hunger, okay? So we don't beat a routine with willpower, we break the cue. You've got to realize it and break that cue. And when you can do that, you can make massive strides forward with this, not just succumbing to the fact it's 3 p.m. or 9 p.m. or whenever you're used to snacking, essentially, okay? Next up, we have emotional hunger and underfed hunger. So emotional hunger, probably the most common one of these, comes on like a switch and it's pretty specific. It wants chocolate, it wants crisps, it wants cakes, it wants whatever it is, okay? Now, if you offer it an apple, it's not interested at all, which tells you everything you need to know about emotional hunger. So it generally comes from stress, boredom, tiredness, kids have been doing your head in, you might be feeling poorly, okay? This is emotional hunger, and I want you to say what it actually is out loud. And it sounds simple, but when you do that, when you name it, you actually realize it and then you can prevent it, okay? Now, emotional hunger happens a lot, so what I want us to do, and I talk about this a lot, is take a step back, look at things from a bigger perspective, and that way you can really decide if that's going to benefit you moving forward. We think quite irrationally and quite quickly about this stuff. We need to take a deep breath, slow down, decide what it actually is. Then we have underfed hunger. So underfed is the one that nobody really talks about, but people do struggle with. Say you've had 900 calories by 6 p.m. because work's been busy, life's been busy, you've been out and about, you skipped lunch, proteins on the floor, because you've only had 900 calories. This is a problem, and you will be starving hungry. Your body is undernourished, underfed. And again, we have to recognize this at the time. So you look back at your day and think, have I eaten enough food today? Have I eaten enough protein? If you haven't, that is the reason why, okay? And that isn't a weakness. It's just your system that day failed you and you haven't eaten enough and you're undernourished. So these are the 4 we're looking at. We've got real hunger, habit hunger, emotional hunger, underfed hunger, okay? Now, 3 of these 4 aren't fixed by being more disciplined. I think people think, I just need to be more disciplined and we'll be fine. That's not the case. You've spent years assuming that, and it's never worked, has it? Trying harder, being more disciplined doesn't work. So, what we need to find is the right tool instead. Now, this is a little tactic that I've come up with that I think will really work. So when you are feeling hungry, hunger turns up, and it's not mealtime, all right? I want you to drink a glass of water. 500 ml is about a glass of water. Wait 20 minutes. Be patient with it. Like I said, when we're hungry, we tend to think, I need food now. But if you're cold, you'll say, I'll get a jacket on in a minute. Or if you need the toilet, you'll go in 10 minutes, right? We need to think about this. 500 ml of water, wait 20 minutes, ask which one of those 4 it is, okay? And then still there, and if it's real hunger and that's still there, then you can eat and get your protein in when you eat, okay? Really important we get that. Then the stuff that's going to stop it ever getting that far. This is the important thing. We're never going to get that far to get super, super hungry to get to this point because we're going to eat protein at every meal, 30 grams at breakfast, for example. Get a good volume of food in, so salads, vegetables, fruits, that kind of stuff. Actually eat enough in the day, sleep enough, and stop banning foods outright. You don't need to ban chocolate crisp cakes. You can fit them in. And my ethos, you can fit them into your diet, okay? Because your 9 p.m. self isn't the issue, your 11 a.m. is. You're just eating the consequences of the decisions you made 10 hours earlier. So if you had an evening where you ate too much food, you're more than likely the next day going to try and restrict. Don't. You just get back on plan because you need to nourish your body, and that one evening isn't going to make a difference. Remember, never miss twice, okay? And fat loss is just going to be a byproduct of all of this. So every time you feel hungry and you don't panic, you've proved that you can be uncomfortable, and that's absolutely sound, mate. And that is the skill we're looking for here, and it shows up elsewhere in your life as well. It builds a resilience muscle, not just a panic mode muscle where we're reactive all the time, okay? And it helps you in all other areas of life, not just with food. So you've spent years telling yourself you've got no self-control, right? You just never heard of a way of proving otherwise. That's all it is. You've never had a different way of proving otherwise. So this week, 7 days, every time you go to eat outside of a planned meal, write one word down first. That's it. Whether it's real, whether it's habit, whether it's emotional, whether it's underfed. Underfed is 2 words. I appreciate that. Don't change anything. Don't restrict. Just name it. And then you can fire it over to me at the check-in. You can drop me a message, whatever you want. But it's a good little practice to have. So every single meal, when you're eating outside of a planned meal, think, is this real hunger? Is it emotional? Is it underfed? Is it habit hunger? Okay? Write that down. You can message me on the day. You can drop it in your check-in later this week. Hopefully, guys, this has made a lot of sense. This could be huge in terms of you staying adherent to your nutrition and making it sustainable long term. If you need me, you know where to find me. Speak to you soon.